John Cena's turn to the dark side looked, on paper, like the bold stroke that would crown a 20-year legacy with one last unforgettable chapter, but it ended up illustrating how even a can't-miss idea can buckle when the follow-through, timing, and dance partners don't line up. The pivot began at Elimination Chamber in early March, when Cena aligned himself with the so-called final boss direction, and shocked an audience that had been conditioned for 2 decades to trust him as the moral compass. That moment was designed to light the fuse for a grim march into WrestleMania 41, with the mythology of The Rock looming over the whole thing. The promise was simple. If you pull the purest babyface the company has ever had into the orbit of the biggest crossover star in wrestling, you get lightning.
The final boss yard! What the hell?
The first televised promo didn't help. Cena leaned hard into the psychology of a toxic relationship with the fans, emotionally plausible, intellectually defensible, but tonally off for crowds who either adore him or boo him playfully. Instead of venom, the segment drew confusion. You could hear it in the cadence of the room. Not the hot, rising heat a villain feeds on, but the awkward, "Wait, is this really who you are?" energy that kills momentum. Later appearances made it clear he felt the miss too. He admitted publicly that one of those early heel promos bombed, which is honest and oddly endearing, but it also confirmed what the live response was already telling you. This wasn't landing the way anyone had hoped.
I am not a baby face. I am not a heel. I'm a human being. You are pathetic. It's a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. I don't need you anymore. I don't care about you.
All of that would have been survivable if the promised pillars had held. The blueprint pointed to a 2-act epic. Act 1, the seduction and corruption, powered by the orbit of The Rock. Act 2, the reckoning, ideally with the very icon who lured him to the edge. But the Rock piece never crystallized on the schedule in the way the story needed. The reality of megastar calendars intervened, and when your story is built around a mythical confrontation that doesn't occur at the crescendo, the air rushes out of the room. Paul Heyman even hinted in interviews that threads around The Rock's involvement fell apart in real time. That sort of candor corroborates what you'd feel week to week. The engine of the heel arc kept sputtering because the carburetor was missing. Enter Travis Scott, a headline-grabbing cameo that in theory would broaden the pop culture halo, and in practice reoriented attention away from the core emotional stakes. On night 2 of WrestleMania in Las Vegas, the celebrity interference opened the window that let Cena secure a record-setting 17th world title, a statistic with an aura so bright you almost don't want to complicate it. The problem is that the interference did exactly that. For a certain slice of the audience, it stained the milestone with an asterisk, and worse, became the story itself. The visual of a superstar rapper physically affecting the finish read more like a brand partnership than a morality play. Even people who weren't hostile to the idea left the night talking more about the cameo than about why this heel needed a win here and how that set up the next thematic beat. If you needed proof that the angle had slipped its moorings, the discourse the day after Mania provided it. Tainted was the vibe. A heel can win dirty, of course he can, but when the dirtiest part isn't his cunning, it undermines the persona you're trying to establish.
Well, he was at WWE, and Travis Scott just pulled the official out of the ring. Well, Crossroads!
From there, you could feel the creative scrambling to find footing, without The Rock on hand to generate the necessary negative space. And with the Travis Scott beat receding, this show tried to patch in heat by moving Cena through pairings and confrontations that were exciting in isolation, but didn't add up to a consistent philosophy of villainy. He wasn't a nihilist tearing down the house. He wasn't a corporate stooge sneering at the people. He wasn't a jealous veteran hoarding the spotlight. He was, week to week, a rationalizer, someone who could explain why he did what he did. And that's never as effective as a villain who makes you feel why he does it. The audience responded accordingly. The "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chant is a cultural reflex at this point. It can create heat on its own, but it also masks whether the room is truly rejecting a man or just enjoying its own ritual. It was the latter. If you're a heel and people are still smiling as they boo you, you're probably not a heel. You're a legend being allowed to play in a sandbox. Then came the timeline correction. On the August 1st SmackDown, Cena turned the ship back toward the light, acknowledged between the lines, if not overtly, that the detour hadn't produced the promised catharsis, and reclaimed the familiar posture of the veteran calling for focus, accountability, and earned respect. The reaction in the building told you everything you needed to know. It wasn't the pop of a shocking swerve. It was the exhale of a crowd that had been politely waiting to cheer him without caveats. In the run-up to SummerSlam, that reset gave the company permission to deliver the cleaner thing. The passing of the torch match with Cody Rhodes that would both affirm Rhodes' reign on its own sporting terms and let Cena re-enter his natural role as the man who tests and elevates the next standard bearer.
I only got one thing left to say to you. Thank you. We get to see Cody Rhodes face off against the greatest of all time at my best. Well, if you want some, come get some. The champ is here!
The SummerSlam match delivered on that brief, long physical, unadorned by stunt interference. It felt deliberate, less about proving a concept and more about sealing an agreement with the audience. Cody went over as he should, because the point of a face Cena at this juncture isn't conquest, it's calibration. The post-match beat that raised Brock Lesnar as the next escalator made pragmatic sense too, both as a late career circle closing for Cena and as a way to harvest fresh drama from a rivalry that has always had gravity. And teasing Logan Paul for the Paris Stadium show added the modern twist, blending legacy with the social media supernova for maximum cross-demographic pull. In other words, once the machine stopped asking Cena to be the villain and started asking him to be the legend again, the gears meshed.
Oh God! Oh. With a pile driver to Cena! Cena with an AA to Cody! Cena with an avalanche AA! Oh my God! Brock Lesnar is at SummerSlam! The Beast has not taken his Lesnar with an F5 to John Cena!
So the heel turn failed, not because the idea was bad, but because the orbit collapsed. The myth it needed, The Rock as ever-present seducer, the villain as self-made cheater, the audience as horrified witness, never fully materialized. A celebrity cameo swallowed oxygen. The identity of the man at the center resisted the costume. And the machine, correctly reading the room, steered back to the version of John Cena that has always worked. The relentless, earnest, unembarrassed good guy who can still go, who can still talk, and who in his final months can still make the people who will carry the show after him look like the future. That outcome may be less sensational than the fall from grace epic we were teased. But it's truer to the relationship between Cena and his audience. In wrestling, as in any long-running serial, the deepest truth isn't the most shocking twist, it's the character that keeps a promise. Cena tried to break that promise to see what would happen. What happened is that the crowd asked him to keep it again, and he did.